Chapter 10. The family begins to starve. During the next 2 weeks, the weather turned very cold. First came the snow. It began very suddenly one morning, just as Charlie Bucket was getting dressed for school. Standing by the window, he saw the huge flakes drifting slowly down out of the icy sky that was the colour of steel. By evening, it lay 4 feet deep around the tiny house, and Mr. Bucket had to dig a path from the front door to the road. After the snow came the freezing gale that blew for days and days without stopping. And oh, how bitter cold it was! Everything that Charlie touched seemed to be made of ice, and every time he stepped outside the door, the wind was like a knife on his cheek. Inside the house, little jets of freezing air came rushing in through the sides of the windows and under the doors, and there was no place to go to escape them. The four old ones lay silent and huddled in their bed, trying to keep the cold out of their bones. The excitement of the golden tickets had long since been forgotten. Nobody in the family gave a thought now to anything except the two vital problems of trying to keep warm and trying to get enough to eat. There was something about the very cold weather that gives one an enormous appetite. Most of us find ourselves beginning to crave rich steaming stews and hot apple pies and all kinds of delicious warming dishes. And because we're all a great deal luckier than we realise, we usually get what we want or near enough. But Charlie Bucket never got what he wanted because the family just couldn't afford it. As the cold weather went on, he became ravenous and desperately hungry. Both bars of chocolates, the birthday one and the one Grandpa Joe had been bought, had long been since nibbled away, and all he got now were those thin cabbagey meals 3 times a day. Then all at once, the meals became even thinner. The reason for this was that the toothpaste factory, the place where Mr. Bucket worked, suddenly went bust and had to close down quickly. Mr. Bucket tried to get another job, but with no luck. In the end, the only place he managed to earn a few pennies was by shoveling snow in the streets, but it wasn't enough to buy even a quarter of the food that 7 people needed. The situation became desperate. Breakfast was now a single slice of bread for each person, and the lunch was maybe half a boiled potato. Slowly but surely, everybody in the house began to starve, and every day little Charlie Bucket, trudging through the snow on his way to school, would still have to pass Mr. Willy Wonka's giant chocolate factory, and every day as he came near it, he would lift his small pointed nose high in the air and sniff the wonderful sweet smell of melting chocolate. Sometimes he would even stand motionless outside the gates for several minutes on end, taking deep swallowing breaths as though he was trying to eat the smell itself. That child, said Grandpa Joe, poking his head up from under the blanket one icy morning, that child has got to have more food. It doesn't matter about us, we're too old to bother with, but a grown boy like that, he can't go on like this. He's beginning to look like a skeleton. But what can we do, murmured Grandma Josephine, miserably. He refuses to take any of ours. I heard his mother try to slip him her own slice of bread onto his plate this morning, but he wouldn't touch it. He made her take it back. He's a fine little fellow, said Grandpa George. He deserves better than this. The cruel weather went on, and every day Charlie Bucket grew thinner and thinner, and his face became frighteningly white and pinched. The skin was drawn so tightly over his cheeks that you could see the shapes of the bones underneath. It seemed doubtful whether he could go on much longer like this without becoming dangerously ill. And now, very calmly, with that curious wisdom that seemed to come so very often to children in times of hardship, he began to make little changes here and there in some of the things that he did. So as to save his strength in the mornings, he left the house 10 minutes earlier so that he could walk slowly to school without ever having to run. He sat quietly in the classroom during break time, resting himself while the other children rushed outside and threw snowballs. Everything he did now, he did slowly and carefully to prevent exhaustion. Then one afternoon, walking home with the icy wind in his face, and incidentally feeling hungrier than he had ever felt before, his eye was caught suddenly by something silver lying in the gutter. Charlie stepped off the curb and bent down to examine it. Part of it was buried under the snow, but he saw what it was. It was a 50-pence piece. Quickly, he looked around it. Had somebody dropped it? No, that was impossible because of the way that it was part buried. Several people went hurrying past him on the pavement, their chins sucked deep into their collars of their coats and their feet crunching in the snow. None of them were searching for any money. None of them were taking the slightest bit of notice in the boy crouching in the gutter. Then it was his, this 50-pence. Could he have it? Carefully, Charlie pulled it out from under the snow. It was damp and dirty, but otherwise perfect. A whole 50-pence. He held it tightly between his shivering fingers, gazing down at it. It meant one thing for him at this moment, and one thing only. It meant food. Automatically, Charlie turned and began moving towards the nearest shop. It was only 10 paces away. It was a newspaper and stationery shop, the kind that sells almost everything, including sweets and cigars. And what he would do, he whispered quietly to himself, was he would buy one luscious bar of chocolate and eat it all up, every bit of it, right there and then, and the rest of the money he would give home and give to his mother. Chapter 11. The Miracle. Charlie entered the shop and laid the damp 50p on the counter. "One Wonka's Whipple Scrumptious Fudge Mellow Delight," he said, remembering how much he loved that one he had on his birthday. The man behind the counter looked fat and well fed. He had big lips and fat cheeks and a very fat neck. The fat around his neck bulged out all over the top of his collar like a rubber ring. He turned and reached behind him for the chocolate bar, then turned again and handed it to Charlie. Charlie grabbed it and tore off the wrapper and took an enormous bite. Then another, and then another. And oh, the joy of being able to cram large pieces of something sweet and solid into one's mouth. The sheer blissful joy of being able to fill one's mouth with rich, solid food. "You look like you wanted that one, Sonny," the shopkeeper said pleasantly. Charlie nodded, his mouth bulging with chocolate. The shopkeeper put Charlie's change on the counter. "Take it easy, it'll give you a tummy ache if you swallow it like that without chewing." Charlie went on wolfing the chocolate. He couldn't stop. And in less than half a minute, the whole thing had disappeared down his throat. He was quite out of breath, but he felt marvellously extraordinary happy. He put his hand to take out the change. His eyes were just about the level of the counter. They were staring at the silver coins lying there. They were all 5p pieces. There were 9 of them altogether. Surely it wouldn't matter if he spent just one more. "I think," he said quietly, "I think I'll just have one more of those chocolate bars," he said. "The same kind as before, please." "Why not?" said the fat shopkeeper, reaching behind him, taking another Whipple Scrumptious Fudge Mellow chocolate bar. He laid it on the counter. Charlie picked it up and tore off the wrapper, and suddenly from underneath the wrapper there came a brilliant flash of gold. Charlie's heart stood still. "It's a golden ticket!" screamed the shopkeeper, leaping in the air. "You've got a golden ticket! You found the last golden ticket! Hey, would you believe it? Come and look at this, everybody! This kid has found the last golden ticket! It's right there in his hands!" It seemed as though the shopkeeper might be going to have a fit. "In my shop too," he yelled. "He found it right there in my little shop. Somebody call the newspaper quick and let them know. Watch out, Sonny, don't tear it as you unwrap it, that thing's precious." In a few seconds there was a crowd of around 20 people clustering around Charlie, and many more were pushing their way in from the street. Everybody wanted to get a look at the golden ticket and who the lucky finder was. "Where is it?" shouted somebody. "Hold it up so we can all see it." "It's there in his hand. Can you see the gold shining?" "How did you manage to find it? I know. I've been buying 20 bars a day. I've been buying them for weeks and weeks, and I've still not found one." "I think of all the free stuff he'll be getting too," another boy said enviously. "A lifetime supply. He'll need it," the skinny little shrimp, a girl said, laughing. Charlie hadn't moved. He hadn't even unwrapped the golden ticket from around the chocolate. He was standing very still, holding it tightly with both hands, whilst the crowd pushed and shouted all around him. He felt quite dizzy. There was a peculiar floating sensation coming over him, as though he was floating up in the air like a balloon. His feet didn't seem to be touching the ground at all. He could hear his heart thumping away loudly in his throat. At that point, he became aware of a hand resting lightly on his shoulder. "Listen," the man said, "I'll buy it from you. I'll give you £50. "Are you crazy?" shouted a woman. "Why, I'll give him £200 for that ticket. You won't sell a ticket for £200, young man?" "That's quite enough of that," the fat shopkeeper shouted, pushing his way through the crowd and taking Charlie firmly by the arm. "Leave the kid alone, will you? Make way there, let him out." And to Charlie, he said, "Don't let anybody take that ticket. Run home as quickly as you can, all the way there, and don't stop until you get there. Do you understand?" Charlie nodded. "You know something," the fat shopkeeper said, pausing for a moment and smiling. "I have a feeling you needed a break like this, and I'm awfully glad you got it. Good luck to you, Sonny." "Thank you," Charlie managed to mutter, and off he went running through the snow as fast as his legs would go, and as he flew past Mr. Willy Wonka's factory, he turned and waved and sang out, I'll be seeing you soon," and 5 minutes later he arrived at his own house.